A couple weeks ago, after a quick work function in Bend, Oregon, I took an extra 10 days to explore the Pacific Northwest, shooting content for my work and film alike, all while camping out of my 4Runner. After a visit to Oregon's coast and Canyon Beach, I jetted up to Olympic National Park for an evening of beach photography. Afterwards, I made my way through Seattle to the northern edge of the U.S., North Cascades National Park, to hike a steep trail straight out of a dream. Here, I made some crucial mistakes in one of the most scenic locations I've ever been, putting all of the photos at jeopardy of turning out well. But we'll get to that towards the end of the video. All right, so I'm out here in North Cascades National Park, the Maple Creek Pass, I think it's called. It's a hike that I've been wanting to do for quite a while, but obviously never found myself in this area of the United States. I just started the hike, which is why I'm a little winded. I think it's like 8 miles total, but I'm only gonna do half tonight. And then I'll camp in the car and then get up for the early sunrise and hike up in the dark. But before I waste any daylight, let's get to it. So I read on All Trails that this trail is going to be pretty snowy and muddy, which at the beginning was pretty muddy, but thankfully there hasn't been any snow yet, so not sure if I'll need these trekking poles, but it's been a really beautiful hike nonetheless. So I've made it. I'm really sweaty. It's like probably, I don't know, 45, 50 degrees up here, but the elevation gain got me sweaty. All right, so the light meter on my phone, which I will break out the Iconic here in a second, is saying that the highlights are like 1/500th of a second, and the shadows, which the island and lake are on, are like 1/60th of a second. So I think I'll shoot probably 2 or 3 shots here, maybe 1/125th, 1/250th, and then maybe 1/60th. I'm shooting the Shanghai 400, which at the moment I don't really know what it is, so I'm a little skeptical on the dynamic range of it. So I kind of want to just make sure I get a couple decent exposures, at least one decent exposure. So we'll see. All right, as I'm looking at the map, it looks like there's one really good vantage point kind of at like the top of the peak. So I'm gonna try to get up there quickly because as you can tell, the sun is setting pretty quick and I don't want to be walking down in the pitch black, especially because I realized halfway up here that I forgot my headlamp. So yeah, I guess this will be interesting. With that being said, I'm gonna take out the Mamiya 7 and just get a couple shots just to make sure that if the sun does go down or if I make it too far up, that I do have some medium format shots, because this is a pretty great scene here, and the light is still really good, so let's let her rip, boy. All right, so I hiked up a little bit further and took a couple shots with the Mamiya. The Iconic was saying pretty much the same thing as the phone light meter, which I think is good to know that the phone light meter is fairly accurate. So that being said, I'm gonna start hiking down. As you can see, the sun is basically stopped kissing the top of the mountains, so we might get some cool pink clouds up going on here for the hike down, but it is getting pretty cold. It's gonna get dark soon. I don't have a headlamp, and I'll be here in the morning bright and early to try and get some sunrise stuff. So on that note, let's skedaddle. Always necessary to have the trail snacks. All right, I've decided to be a bad boy and stay probably longer than I should, but I mean, look. Okay, so for the good of my own safety, I am finally heading back down. I could honestly sit here all night as the clouds go down and just keep shooting, but I want to make sure I get down before it's too dark. And also I'm planning on getting up super early in the dark to shoot some more of this scene. Hopefully I can get here as the sun is rising, but We'll see. I was a little nervous coming down. I saw the pink sky and I was like, damn, I should have stayed up there. But there's this nice composition here with the path and the little lake to the side with the mountains and the clouds up top, obviously. I think it's a nice variation from all the shots I got up there, which were pretty much the same composition, just slightly different variations. Also, I'm just picturing like a bear or something like popping up behind me and mauling me. This is f***ed up. I feel like I'm manifesting this, but that'd be the hardest way to go out. Whoever found the phone, and subsequently me, would have to edit this and make literally the hardest film photography YouTube video of all time. Into the darkness we go. Okay, I'm right back to home base. It's like 10:30. I forgot everything set up, packed and prepped all the stuff for tomorrow morning. I'm gonna give myself a quick wipe down and then try to get some sleep and get up nice and early for sunrise. Good morning. It is 4:30, bright and early. The sun obviously has not come up yet, but the sky is starting to get brighter, so I figured I'd hit the road. I honestly did not sleep very good. I don't know why. The first couple hours I was kind of tossing and turning. And then a group of dudes had showed up at like 2:30 and were just noisy as all hell. They pretty much pulled out right next to me and just sat in their car and talked and listened to music, which was annoying because there's a lot of other campers there, so kind of inconsiderate of them, I guess. Well, I'm about halfway up. I think I'm gonna miss like peak sunrise and all the pink clouds and stuff, which is fine. I got most of that last night. I was struggling a lot more this morning. I think lack of sleep, lack of dinner, and then the heavier backpack will do it to you. Thankfully, I do have a meal and a jet boil that I brought to eat up at the top so that I get some energy back. But yeah, this morning's been a bit of a struggle, I will say.
From there, I pretty much stopped immediately to cook some food and indulge in some morning tea. What a beautiful spot for breakfast.
Okay, so I took a quick pit stop to eat some food and drink some tea, some water. I was feeling a little lethargic on the way up and was getting really sweaty despite it being pretty cold. So I decided to take a break, refuel, drink some more water, hydrate up. Honestly, I was pretty impressed with the Mountain House meal. I was kind of apprehensive on how much I would like freeze-dried meals, but I think in a pinch, especially when you get to camp late or have a really early morning, they can be a really great way to get some calories in and keep the energy going. So I'm gonna keep trekking up. I only have a couple of shots left in the Nikon of the Shanghai 400. I have a couple other rolls that are like 100 speed, which actually times out pretty well with the lighting as I'll get up to that vantage point from last night. Well, I made it to the top. It's significantly less cool and interesting compared to last night, which is a bummer, especially because on the way up here, I had seen all the pink skies and the nice light, and even talked to a group of hikers on the way, and they said that they were up here during sunrise. They left at like 3 a.m., but that the sights were quite beautiful. But hey, it makes me more grateful that last night worked out so well and that I got hopefully a good amount of shots from that sunset. And honestly, I do think that sunset here, just with how the sun is setting onto the mountains versus behind the mountains for sunrise, is a better choice. So if I had to choose between the two, I am glad that the sunset worked out. And I'll take today as a more leisurely hike around the lake.
From here, I headed back to Seattle to meet up and kick it with a longtime friend that I hadn't seen in over 10 years, Benji. At this point, after 12 days on the road, I had about a 19-hour journey back to North Colorado. Despite this, I took an hour or two of time to film a reel for my work in Wyoming. So, to put it bluntly, I'm not super stoked about many of the shots. But that's not because of composition or scans or edits or anything, but rather the film stocks themselves. In fact, shout out Midwest Film Co. as they're sponsoring this video, and I've never gotten any bad scans from them. Even with these videos on my road trip, they've dealt with the most difficult possible scanning and color correcting, but they've done a great job giving me some great more flat scans back to edit on. With my Mamiya 7 specifically, the lens wasn't quite wide enough to fully capture the entirety of the scene, so in my opinion that was a bit of a letdown. Whereas with the Nikon's 24mm, it was just enough width, but I wish I would have shot some Portra or Ektar instead of just the Shanghai. While yes, I do think there are some really cool shots from the Shanghai film, I think some tripoded Ektar or Portra would have rendered me much better consistent results and just overall better colors. At that time, I really wanted to test some of these new film stocks and see which of the cheap ones are worth the time for you guys. Yet now that I'm home and looking at the results, I kind of regret that. My thought process now is like, I don't really know exactly when I'll be back to the North Cascades and especially back to Maple Pass. So I would have liked to take some more time and effort to get some more good consistent shots versus getting some more like test shots. I think for me, when I'm traveling and I'm especially so far from home, it's hard to justify going back to the same spot twice, especially when there's so many different places in Washington specifically to explore. There's so many different hikes, so many alpine lakes, so many cool places similar to Maple Pass that aren't Maple Pass, that at this point I probably would prioritize going to in the future because I haven't been there myself, whereas I obviously have been to Maple Pass before. Now, I don't actually think I ruined any of the photos or ruined my experience or anything, but I do think there is a valuable lesson here to be learned, and that it's when you're traveling and when you're trying to take some more serious professional photos, I think really dialing in your workflow and subsequently the film you choose is a really important aspect of the shoot. There's a reason why Kodak is called professional film, and it's because there's more dynamic range and overall some more consistent quality in these film stocks than many of these small companies that are respooling Kodak's film. By shooting Shanghai, I think I narrowed down the total amount of good photos that I could possibly have, quite drastically lowering the ceiling for the overall quality of photos that I'd be getting that day. I think also my slight unpreparedness without having the headlamp, without having a tripod to shoot on, made it so I wasn't able to get some of the best shots at the best time when the sun was setting. Had I had the headlamp, had I had the tripod, I would have been able to stay for longer, ensuring some of the actual pink sky shots came out with less grain, etc. But for what it's worth, I'm happy that I learned this lesson and can hopefully teach you guys something from it. I know for me, I'm happy that this wasn't actually like a paid shoot or something that I mess the photos up on, because that can be obviously a lot more of a headache, I guess, versus when I'm just out hiking and trying to deliver a video for you guys. There's not nearly as high of a pressure as obviously a signed contract. I think the last little lesson for me to take away is to always keep some Ektar or Portra or just some Kodak film. It could even be gold on me at all times because of moments like this. Especially when I'm on road trips, I never know what I'm gonna run into. Good light or some random scene that just looks great that I couldn't have planned for. So having some reliable professional film stock on me at all times definitely opens up the doors for more photos like that. Otherwise, that's gonna wrap it up for this one, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about this more adventure style video and which of the photos that I took in the 2 days were your favorites. I think you guys always have some really insightful comments about the journey or the photos, so I'm always eager to see what you guys have to say. Otherwise, that's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, stay safe, stay shooting. Adios.